Sunday. We're
Happy
all here.
Sunday. Happy Sunday. Look at you looking all radiant and stuff on this Sunday afternoon. How's it going?
Hold on. The Wi-Fi is being a little
Your
wonky.
Wi-Fi's being wonky?
Yeah.
Yeah. You cute. You cute.
Yeah, I'm wearing mommy shoes too. Of
Yeah,
course.
I know. Look at you with your little sun-kissed glow and stuff. You can tell you've been in that Florida sun. Yeah. So happy Sunday, everybody. As you can see, I got my niecey poo is in the live. She's a stand-in. This is Janae Gada's life's daughter and my niece. She's here from Florida. She's here from Florida. Yes. So how your day been? How y'all day been going so far?
Pretty good. We just well, we're headed over to see more family.
Okay.
Um, I think I'm gonna take my little cousin out today and treat her to some things. And I think mommy's going to like a gala. So
Oh, okay. Okay.
just out and about.
Okay. Okay. But it's good to see your lovely face. Your lovely face. I see that you are like really making your rounds.
Yes, I'm really trying.
Right, right, right. So how you leaving today?
No, I'm leaving tomorrow morning, but like early.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So hopefully we can stop by and see you before, if anything.
I know, right? Like you're
Yeah.
making rounds. You're making rounds. I know
Mhm.
for our conversation yesterday. And I
I
was like,
know.
I was waiting for my phone call.
I know. We got stuck at. We was at I don't know if you know Aunt Erica. We got stuck over there because we're like, okay, if we go to Aunt Mika's, we're gonna be stuck over there for a while, and it ended up being the other way around. And I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah, 'cause I was expecting y'all to be coming through, but it's
Yeah.
still the day's still young. The day's still young. We
Young,
gonna we
yes.
gonna get, we gonna get through this live. Make it do it. You. Yes, yes, yes. So yeah, so as you see, we are already get ready to dive in. I've been talking to my lovely niece. I'm sure Janae probably be popping in periodically. But yeah, but this is perfect because our topic today is talking about entrepreneurship. Yeah.
Perfect. Yes.
Entrepreneurship. Yes.
Yes.
So I'm so excited to talk about this because I had personal experiences with entrepreneurship. I know you have personal experiences with entrepreneurship. And Mommy Janae Goddess Life has also had personal experiences with entrepreneurship. So I'm excited for us to dive into this and talk a little bit about it. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of entrepreneurship. Okay.
Get into it.
Yes. Hello, hello. Thank you for coming in, everybody. Yeah. So before we go into the good, the bad, and the ugly of entrepreneurship, we are going to talk a little bit about what entrepreneurship is. Okay, what does that actually mean? Hey, honey. Hi. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate you for being here. Yeah. So I'll say so. Entrepreneurship is the process of creating, launching, and managing a new business venture, right? Often involving innovation and the assumption of a significant risk. It is the act of identifying opportunities and develop them into viable businesses while also managing the resources and the risks involved. Entrepreneurs are individuals who undertake this process, taking on the challenges and rewards of building something new. So, the key aspects of entrepreneurship is the innovation part of it. So, entrepreneurship often involves introducing new products, services, or businesses models to the market, right? And then you have the risk taking part of it. So, entrepreneurs are willing to take on a financial and other risks to pursue their business idea. Right? I see you nodding your head. Right? We about to dive into this, girl.
Self investment.
Yeah, so we gonna give a little background about what entrepreneurship is, and then it's the opportunities involved, like recognizing an unmet need, or the potential market gaps. That's crucial, like the first step of it, and then it comes into like the resource management part of it. So entrepreneurs need to effectively manage resources like the capital, the personnel, and the time that goes into it, right? And then we talk about like the business development part of it. Like this includes like developing the business plan, securing the funding, building like a team, launching the business, right? And then you have like the growth and the sustainability of it, right? So like successful entrepreneurs focus on the scaling of their businesses and ensuring long-term visibility, right? So let's talk about like the importance of entrepreneurs, right? So except for the economic growth of it, like entrepreneurship, like drives the innovation, it creates jobs, and it stimulates the economic activity. It also, in addition to like creating jobs, it is a new business. Like it creates employment opportunities, right, for individuals, and it might have like a social impact, right? Like it addresses like social needs and improve like different living standards, and it might be innovative, right? I mean, a lot of time when entrepreneurs come in, they're innovating something, right? So
Right.
like the challenges, might contribute to advancements of different fields. So different examples of like entrepreneurship is like starting like a small business, like a bakery or like a coffee shop,
Or
right?
t-shirt business.
Right? That t-shirt
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, right. Like building like a tech startup. Like some people like to do like these different platforms, these digital platforms and stuff. Launching social media is an enterprise.
Yeah.
It's a way
Yeah.
to start in a business, right? And then even creating like a new project, right? So it's different ways like to get into entrepreneurship. So now we done gave you a little bit of background of like where entrepreneurship is, right? Now let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because I got stories to share. I know you got stories to share. I'm
Yes.
excited, Mom, to dive in onto this conversation.
Yes.
So entrepreneurship offers both significant rewards and substantial challenges, right? While it provides, hey sister, wow, yeah, right. We about to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, girl.
I
So
heard some of what you was saying. It's about entrepreneurship when you was talking about the risk and all kind of things and stuff.
yeah, we
You
about
said
we
what
about
I
to we
think.
about to we about to dive deeper as we always do.
Yes, indeed.
So it said while it provides the autonomy, like the potential for wealth and the satisfaction of building something from the ground up, it also involves high levels of risk, like
Mhm.
financial instability and
Word.
intense workloads. So the
Hmm.
good includes like the freedom to create, right? The
Yeah.
potential for financial independence and the fulfillment of pursuing one's passion. However, the bad encompasses the financial risk, the long hours, and the constant pressure to succeed.
Exactly.
And the ugly side of it can involve the high failure rate, the potential for fraud, and the emotional toll of navigating a volatile and competitive landscape. Right?
Yeah.
The
Hmm.
ugly part of it, right? So let's start talking about this good part of right entrepreneurship, right? So when we think about the good, we're thinking about the autonomy and the control of it, right?
Hmm.
So entrepreneurs have the freedom to set their own schedules, make their own decisions, and pursue their vision without constraints of traditional appointment, right?
Hmm.
So considering that you have dived into entrepreneurship, you want to talk a little bit about your mindset when you decided to be an entrepreneur and give up your 9 to 5.
Yeah. Freedom.
Freedom.
Freedom. Peace of mind.
Peace of
I
mind.
was having that like peace of mind over everything kind of feeling.
Okay,
And so
okay.
it was like, even though, yeah, it was I was giving up consistency. You know what I'm saying? We're having like, like that steady check. But yeah, it was the peace of mind, the freedom.
The
And
peace of mind.
yeah, I think because it's like you're making a certain amount per hour, but
Right.
when it was like I was just able to when I felt like I could like make my whole check in a weekend instead of waiting
Okay.
2 weeks to make
Okay.
that amount.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it was
Right.
like, all right, so why am I working for them when I can be really investing that time and energy into myself?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So
Yeah, it
that
was
that
just
that leads into like the potential for financial rewards, right? So
right.
they saying like successful entrepreneurs can achieve significant financial gains and build wealth, like
Mm-hmm.
far exceeding what might be possible in a traditional job.
Word.
So you literally just kind of touched on that, like how you said you can make the same thing in a weekend that you can make for 2 weeks of a paycheck.
I mean, not all the time, you know what I'm saying? But like the first time that I had really dived in, that was what happened. And it was like I had got bitten by the entrepreneurship bug. And it was just like, okay,
Uh
like
huh.
what? Like, you know what I mean? It was like, wait, that can happen? You know what I'm saying? It was like that kind of thing,
Uh huh.
and I was like, wait, it was, yeah. I was like, all right, like, am I, what I mean? I knew if I just dived more into that, side and just invested in myself and, it's like, yeah, that I could just, it was just places that I could take it. It felt more unlimited,
From unlimited.
whereas the job felt limited. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And, except what I was able to, bring home. That check was steady. I mean, the check was steady, but it
Mm-hmm.
was also always the same.
Always the same. Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But yeah, but
Right.
I'm about to drive again, so I'm gonna pass you back. Um, yeah. Which one? One of y'all?
Okay.
Um,
Hello, hello. Thank you for coming in,
and I think I
everybody. So this is our Sister Talk Sunday. We are talking about entrepreneurship, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So right now you are talking to entrepreneurs in some capacity. I myself have done a lot of entrepreneurship. I have my niece here has done entrepreneurship, and my sister Janae Goddess left, who is my host for our Sister Talk. She is definitely an entrepreneur. Okay. So yeah, so she just kind of gave us a little bit of background of to what made her dive into entrepreneurship. It gave her that freedom, that unrestriction, right? That unlimited like amount of time that she can put into it and not feel like she's in the box, right? So I really appreciate you all for being here for our discussion today, right? So, Nish, you want to dive in a little bit on about your journey into entrepreneurship? Because we're talking about the good side of it, right? So, talk about what was good for you that made you want to dive into being an entrepreneur.
Well, I will answer this question and I'll also let my mom answer. For me
Okay.
personally, I right now I'm actually working on starting up a t-shirt business.
Yes.
And
Yes.
prior to this, I
Uh-huh.
was doing some work I made a short film and I filled out some forms for a grant so that I could have the money that I needed, so I could get the resources and the tools that I needed so I could do my own thing. But something that I always keep in mind is when people are having business conversations, something that they talk about a lot is OPM. And OPM, it means other people's money. And I feel like a perfect way to
Right.
utilize OPM as a resource is grants. Grants are a perfect way to start out, especially with entrepreneurship and doing your own thing. So
Mm.
that was my input. And right now, I think some of the really great parts is that I'm passionate about it. Entrepreneurship, I feel like when you're doing something you enjoy, like it's there and it's easy, but it's sometimes like you might not always have the resources that you need off of the bat. But it's like you get to write up your plans and you get to kind of get into these things that you're really interested in to make what it is that you want to do work. So that's where I'm at with it right now.
So
My
that's the
mom,
good
on the
part
other hand,
that you were able to get like some grants and stuff. Yeah. So we're gonna talk about all the different like potentials up to it, right? So I love mommy's story because I want her to tell her story about how she was in the 9 to 5 fields, and like something shifted that she decided that she no longer wanted to do that 9 to 5.
Yeah, it was a lot of things shifting. Like I said, really working on, like I said, peace of mind. And yeah, I just needed that. It was like, just the stress, the different things that was just happening and stuff, that just, yeah, that was already making me want to pull away. And, it's like that, just manifesting like, all right, wanting something different, and wanting to be my own boss. Yeah, I had done, because I was like fresh coming out of school. I had took some more classes to go for LPC, and and just studying a lot of stuff. And I had done a presentation for my what's that, career development class, and um, where I was supposed to talk to people about what they wanted to do, and all this stuff and everything. And so I just used myself um, for my own project. And yeah, and so it was like when I was just examining, how many days I wanted to work, and what I wanted life to look like, and everything. And, I just knew that I didn't want to work a regular job anymore. Yeah, it was like just, I didn't want to work for somebody else. And also, just like I said, all the additional distress that was involved with working for someone else, and, giving them all those options. And I had just been doing it for so many years, and, it was just tired of the 9 to 5 struggle,
Right. Right.
Yeah. So it was like, I got to make this, figure out something else. But it even deeper than that, it was like say, because there was like things that happened that was showing me like, hey, you can go this direction. But like say, it was the peace of mind that was even deeper than everything. Just being like, all right, just letting things come to me, letting things happen, trusting in um I don't know, trusting in the universe and my abilities, um, of what I was just able to manifest into my life. And then I don't know, things just continue to flow, and I continue to be okay. You know what I mean? So I know that there's way better entrepreneurs that are out there that are like making it like happen. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, what I mean, people out there like doing the thing, and it's fantastic.
Right.
But yeah, yeah, what I'm saying, it's like it was deeper than entrepreneurship for me. It was like I said, like that peace of mind, but that it was the freedom, what I mean, to like I felt like a slave going to the plantation. What I mean? And a lot of folks out there feel like that, what I mean? And they say it all the time, like, you going to the plantation today?
Going to the plantation. Right.
Yeah, yeah. Right. So yeah, it was like just me wanting to be in control of my own self.
Right. Right. Yeah. Because they were talking about like far as the good aspect of entrepreneurship, like you have that fulfillment and purpose, like you were just saying, right? So building a business around like a passion or idea, like you both were saying that, and Isis both saying that, like building your passion, like it said, it could be incredibly fulfilling and provide a strong sense of purpose, right? Right. Right.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of entrepreneurs think the good side of it is that it does create job and economic growth, right? So like entrepreneurs do play like a vital role in like driving like innovation and like creating the jobs and contributing to the growth of the economy and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I think especially, like when like when people get mentorship and stuff like that, and what I mean, figure out ways to help to grow their business and hiring people and all of that stuff. Yeah. What I mean, is like I said, it's ways to like really, yeah, what I mean, just supporting more, more folks.
Right.
Stuff. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. I could totally chime in on that because I could talk my good side of it is I did years of different aspects of like starting like my own like businesses. You know, my first thing I did with them was starting my own tax service. And that for me was rewarding because I too was doing that 9 to 5 where I was in the office, but I was trying to juggle like two different jobs. So one part of me was doing like the tax accounting, and the other part was doing something in education. So I found myself limited with how I can impact or help people, and the tax accounting part, working in the tax office, right? So I would thing where people will come in, my regular clients, and say, well, listen, you know, I really, really love your services. I love, you know, you being my tax professional, but it's hard for me to do it around your working hours, right? Is there any way that you can do my taxes without being in the office, right? So prior to that conversation or those conversations, I never even actually thought or contemplated on doing that outside of the office setting, right? For somebody else in somebody's office. So the more I was getting those questions, and the more I noticed that my contribution to helping and serving clients and customers, helping them reach their goals, their tax needs, that my services were a big contribution. Like, so how it works, like in my office setting, that you literally were like charging for every little thing, right? With the clients. So I would look like at the end of the deal, those bills would be hefty. Like you were actually charging clients like $600, $700, $800, $900, almost $1,000 to do one tax return. So the more involved, the more complex it was, the more the clients were getting charged. And I just say, oh my God, like this is how like tax firms and stuff, they ended up being multi-million-dollar businesses because they charge for so many different things, for every little thing, like everything they put on the line or every page they use, every schedule they use, they're charging clients and customers for it, right? But then you have people like me that's actually working, putting in the work, doing the work, serving the clients and the customers, and not really reaping the rewards of all that hard work. So we have like one particular like salary that we will get. It doesn't matter how many returns you do, how many clients you serve, you know, you were still getting that one set pay. So the more these things were happening, the more they were happening, the more it was that light bulb was going on. Like, okay, like I've been doing this for years. I'm really capable of starting my own tax service and serve people in the same capacity, but fraction of the cost. Like not charging, not trying to hurt their pocket and still get the same results, right? And still have happy people. So that's when I decided to step out on faith and start my own tax, right? And started having, you know, people come directly to me, and that was very fruitful. That's my good side of it. It was very fruitful. And I was getting a lot of word of mouth, right? That not I didn't have to do a lot of advertising, which I started on the beginning because I was fresh and new to doing it on my own. But then I stopped actually having to do the word of mouth or the advertising, and my clientele was coming directly from people passing and giving referrals. So I found myself getting a lot of referrals from repeat clients that will come to me and were happy with my services. So that was the good side of it, that, you know, like me stepping out on faith ends up being rewarding. And I was able to serve a lot of people, right? So that made me feel good. And another venture I started into, you know, when I was doing the store thing, right? So because of my love of, you know, fashion and like clothing and shoes, you know, we're lovers of shoes and handbags. That inspired me to want to start my own boutique, as you remember, right? So I started like with the online thing, and you know, I was getting questions like, okay, like I see that you're doing things online, but do you have like a brick and mortar? Do you have like a store? that I can actually come and visit, look at your products, and see what you had going on. So then that light bulb went off again. I'm okay, wow. Yeah, that's a good point. Let's look into that. So I looked into that, found a place where I could open up my own little boutique, and I had my product in there, everything, had customers come directly to me, as well as online advertisement. So that ended up working out for a while. But that is the overhead part. So now I'm going to dive into like the bad part of like the entrepreneur stuff, right? So, they say like let's get real, like starting your own business is not easy at all, right?
Right.
So, right, but I would say like the best part of like becoming an entrepreneur is like, being in the lifestyle of it, right? And feeling like you can complete your tasks that you set out to do, and you can go at your own pace, like you were saying, and by your own methods and stuff, right? It's like the whole adventure of it. So I can totally agree with that. It is adventurous, wow, I did this, I stepped out on faith, I'm serving my community, people are finding a need, they like what I'm offering, right? But, and being and not to mention you get to be your own boss. Right? Right? Be your own boss.
Right? But that's what I'm saying. It is a sacrifice, you know what I mean? Right. Because, it's like, it's not as much money. I mean, in the long run, I mean, well, I can't say, I mean, sometimes it is, you know what I mean? Folks out here making millions of dollars. That wasn't necessarily my situation. But, yes, a big old capital, yes. Right. But,
yes.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it was like trusting in, I was just decided I was going to trust in the flow, you know what I mean? And sometimes it's, but it could be scary a lot of times, you know what I mean? Yeah, because, like you said, that money is not the same. It wasn't as consistent,
Yeah. That's why we're going to go into the bad parts, right? The ugly parts, right? Yeah, because, like, although, it can be rewarding and exciting with being an entrepreneur, like you get to make your own decisions and you can see something that you built, like start growing and stuff, right? But you never know what to expect as being an entrepreneur, right? So let's go into the bad parts of that, right? So when you're going into the bad parts of entrepreneurship, you talk about the financial risk involved, right?
Yeah.
Like, so starting a business involves like significant financial investments, and there's always the risk of losing that investment if your business. And then you have like the uncertainty and the instability of it, right? So entrepreneurs like face constant uncertainty, including fluctuations in their income, like the market changing and the presence of, the possibility of failing, your business failing, right? And then don't forget about the long hours and the intense workload that you got to put into it, right? So building a successful business often like requires extremely long hours, right? High level of dedication and potential of impacting your work life balance, right?
Yes.
And then you had the competition part of it. The market, right? Like they must compete with other businesses, established businesses, right? And like kind of navigate through the market. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. Even like when I first started making jewelry, you know what I mean? Is a lot of people that's, making that same type of jewelry and stuff now, like with the crystals and the copper and, doing things and stuff. But the way I look at it, like, just like how Victoria's Secret does lingerie, you know what I mean? But that don't mean that you can't start making lingerie.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so it's like it's always going to be other people doing the same stuff too.
Yeah. That competition and the long hours, and it's the long hours for me. So like how I talked about
that part. Oh my God, because it's like to go from working a 9 to 5 to working 24/7. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So like I got so many stories.
When you real, concerned, when you just really into, your craft or your business, and, you're trying to grow it as much as you can, it's like, it just felt like I was working around the clock. I wasn't, I don't know, like just constantly into it or studying something about it or trying to learn more, to do it better,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I felt like I was wearing a lot of hats because, doing all these things by myself.
Oh, listen. So
Hmm.
for
But I
those
want to
that
tell you where I'm
are
at
just
real quick.
joining us, we're talking about
Yes.
entrepreneurship, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So we talked about some of the good aspects of it, right? Never dive
Hmm.
into the bad aspects of entrepreneurship,
But hold
right?
up. I'm gonna tell you where I'm at real quick while we talking about entrepreneurship, because there's a lot of
Okay.
entrepreneurs out here too.
Okay. Okay.
I'm at the tribute to the drum ceremony on Stenton Park.
Okay.
So if you're out there and you're watching, and you can make it, come on, come through. Like I said, it's a whole bunch of vendors that are out
Mm,
here. You can
mm,
see them.
mhm.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So
Not an
we want to
entrepreneur,
support. We want to support our entrepreneurs.
right? Support
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
So I definitely appreciate everybody for being here. So
Yes.
yeah, as you can see, Nate's out here doing her thing as the entrepreneur. So
Mhm.
I'm like, so we just kind of get touched a little bit on like some of the bad aspects of entrepreneurship, right? So I want to
Mhm.
go there on that them long hours and that uncertainty for me. So because I ventured out in two different businesses, right? One was the
Mhm.
factory. So I was not ready to dive in completely and give up my 9 to 5, right? So my
Yeah.
business centered around me working a 9 to 5 on top of that, right? Which meant
Mhm.
I would do my 9 to 5 and then I would have to focus on my business, which
Mhm.
was not easy to do, right? And that's when it comes to what that them long hours. So far as my like the taxes, I would find myself literally working till like midnight, working on taxes because I had to continue my tax business outside of working a 9 to 5. And I had this idea. My motto was like I could do pickup delivery with my niche, right? So
Mhm.
not only would I would be going out to serve clients, picking it up, right? Or coming to you for
Right.
mobile taxes, right? Or grabbing your
Mhm.
taxes, bringing it back to my home office and completing it, drop it off to you. So that right there put a lot of wear and tear, right? So I
Mhm.
found myself doing a lot of running around and working long hours outside of my 9 to 5, right?
Right.
So
Mhm.
that's when all like the draining came in for me. Like I was like
Mhm.
totally like drained and exhausted a lot, right?
Yeah.
And I had the other aspect when I was doing the boutique, same scenario.
Mhm.
Because I was doing a 9 to 5, that meant I had to have someone fill in to cover my store while I was trying to work, right?
Right.
So then that comes into the thing where like who could you trust? Right? Can't have everybody working in your business, because you're not sure if they're going to be able to hold it down. You got to be careful, like the risk involved and stuff, right? So,
Mhm.
and for me, like I felt more confident, like trusting, like to have, like my oldest children to do shifts to work in the store for me. But
Mhm.
with that also came risk because then they were by themselves working in the store, and then you had people coming in and trying like fraudulent stuff or trying to scam, trying to steal, and they're by themselves, right? So that was
Mhm.
that was a lot of risk. So I was losing like money in that aspect.
Wow.
I was losing
Yeah.
a lot of money. Right, right. So with that, that ended up like being a real financial risk for me. Like we were talking about, like the bad part of it. That was a real financial risk. And then
Mhm.
the overhead because I was losing money. I had I still had to pay my rent for the place that I was leasing. still had to pay the bills, right? Still had to pay for my merchant, like credit card thing. Like it was so much overhead, right? That I was like diving deeper and deeper to like
Mhm.
that, right?
Yeah.
Because of the risks involved, right?
Right.
With the entrepreneurship part of it. So yeah, so it's definitely like some good, some bads, and then we're going to go into the ugly. So, do you have any experiences about bad aspects of your level of entrepreneurship?
Um. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess like, to follow up with your example. I mean, I guess I did have, sometimes people do steal, you
Right.
know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it was time like I was working on a piece and like a piece of jewelry, and I was going to attach it to another piece, and so somebody came and like stole the part.
Oh my God. Oh man.
Yeah, what I mean, like I notice little stuff like that sometimes, but I don't know. I'll be just chalking it up to the universe, like. I'd be like refusing to stress any of that stuff.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but let me think. Any like ugly part? I mean, I guess probably like what I was saying. What I said already, just with like the being overworked because you are wearing a lot of hats. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean when you're working for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, it's like all them different hats. It'd be hard to do everything, you know what I mean? But I think that, I think it's good to bring in other folks, or partners and, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But even like with that, it's like trusting people and, it's a lot. It'd be a lot that goes into it, you
Yeah.
know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's a lot that goes into it, but
Exactly.
that's why I'm not like further than I would like to be. You know what I'm saying? But also like when I was handcrafts and everything, and it was like like certain opportunities and stuff that was coming that I just wasn't prepared for because I was doing it all by myself, and I just
Mm-hmm.
wasn't ready for certain levels of success because I
Mm-hmm.
was all by myself. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So it's things like that. Um, yeah. You know what I mean? So, but I should not be worrying, I'll be thinking more about like, how it's gonna continue to how I'll continue to grow and develop and connect, what I'm saying, with the right, people, resources and situations, for the growth to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So what do you think
Yeah.
about like far as the competition part of it? I thought
As
that
far
I
as the
thought that was
competition,
that was a struggle too for me too with the competition part of it.
I never worry about that.
Never
Never,
worry about
ever,
the
ever,
competition.
ever, ever. I'm only in competition with myself. I never, ever, ever worry about no competition. Because can't nobody else be Janae, just like I can't be anybody else. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't even think about that.
Well, I got
I,
hard stories about the competition part for me, right?
yeah.
It wasn't so much during the tech service because I was really solving the problem, creating the
Mhm.
need, like me being able to do the mobile, right? And
Mhm.
pick up a delivery, like that was like a no brainer. People really appreciated that. What I really was
Yeah.
finding the struggle is when I opened up the boutique. So I'm just a
The
little
boutique.
small person, small business, trying to make
Mhm.
it in this retail space.
Yeah.
Ah, girl. But then you got the big
Mhm.
box stores, right?
Mhm.
They've been doing this for years. They have more versatility. They offer more products, right? Like
Oh
people,
yeah.
they're well
Well, yeah, I
known.
understand all that.
No,
Mhm.
oh my goodness, oh my goodness. That part for
Mhm.
me was really really tough. Trying to
Yeah.
and hold my head above water, being a
Mhm.
small business into the new retail space, right?
Right.
So that was the bad part of it. So I had the real competition, and then like I said, the instability of it because it's like, all right, I'm taking financial risk, and I would see like my overhead overshadowing the income potential that I was bringing in. So
Mhm.
I found myself like literally like drowning to the point where it's like, okay, if I don't like close up shop, I'm going to really be really down behind the 8 ball, right? Because it's causing me a lot of financial stress, right? So I said, like, we're talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly of entrepreneurship, right? So I had like my good aspects of it as well as Janae, and I had my bad aspects of it. Right? My different experiences to what, like, how it did not, suit me well, right? And
Yes, it's
so,
live.
right. So they say, like, so like, why do people? Hello,
I'm
y'all. I
listening.
see we got a hug to the alias, right? So
Yes.
they're talking about like why people head straight for that established career.
Can they shout
Right.
you out? They shout you out over here.
It said, why do people head straight for that established career, right? And they say it's simple because of financial security.
Mm-hmm.
That's why some people don't even try that entrepreneurship aspect, right? Ooh, she got guy stuff. Entrepreneurs in the house. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yes. Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful table. Yes. Yes. Love that.
Yes, she's live. But
Uh-huh.
awesome, I'm listening to you.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm curious to see how long she's been in business and she have any input to
Would you like to speak? She said she's curious to know how long you've been in business. Mm-hmm. All right. So make sure she can hear you. Here,
Hi.
I'll be like that.
Hey,
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I've been in business, I would say 35 years because my daughter's 35 and I was pregnant when I started.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
35 years.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You got any other questions, sir? Again?
Yeah.
Yeah, this
So
is
what made
Shanifa.
you decide to start your business? Like, were you doing like the
Oh,
regular 9 to 5?
Well, um, like I say, I was pregnant and back then, and I think it's still now when they give you your food stamps and stuff and you're pregnant and they were
Mm-hmm.
giving you $158. I was like,
Wow.
well, it's not going to work. So I took
Uh-huh.
that $158 and I went to the wholesales down Fifth Street in Philly. And I
Uh-huh.
turned that $158 into $450 in a weekend. So I've been
Okay.
hooked ever since.
Okay.
exactly. That's
Okay.
my same story for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what got you into entrepreneurship. So yeah, our discussion is actually talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly of it.
I think it was just in me to be an entrepreneur. Yeah. As a teenager, I used to sell candy bars and socks and stuff. And I just think it was in me. Yeah.
35 years, that is impressive.
But don't say
So this
that,
is what
it
you
really
do full
doesn't.
time?
There's nothing What'd you say?
I said, so 35 years is impressive. So this is what you've been doing full time?
Yeah, this is what I do. This is what I've been doing. I had a few jobs, but I just made more, and I just like it. It's freedom. You be around your people. You go different places.
Hmm.
More freedom.
Right, right,
So,
right, right.
yeah.
Love that. Right. Yeah, I hear a lot about like the freedom of it.
Yes,
I hear a
ma'am.
lot about the freedom of it. A lot about the freedom of it. Right. It seems like that it's entrepreneurship has been serving you well.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard work, but if you like what you do, it's all good.
Hmm.
You know.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
We appreciate that.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. But
Mhm.
it's funny. I love to hear like success stories, right?
Right.
Because we're talking about like why people be heading straight for like the established career, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it be for like the financial security part of it, right? segregation, and that's when people be like going for like the bachelor's degrees and stuff like that because
Mhm.
it like guarantees that like no matter where you go, like you still got that degree under your belt, right? Right, which leads to like your security and your stable income, right? But
Mhm.
entrepreneurship, like they don't come with no guarantees, right?
Right.
Right. But they said like, but when you're becoming an entrepreneurship, like a bad part of it too is that like people get like a certain level of ego that come along with that. Being an
Mm. Mhm. Mhm.
I'm like, oh, that ego part, right? Like,
Yeah.
like when you end up being like the head honcho, or like you make
Oh,
all the
oh,
stuff
you done
fall.
got to the ugly part. Yeah.
Like you know,
Yeah.
like sometimes like when you ain't got no overhead or no boss or something, then you end up like people get beheaded, right? The,
Mhm.
the ego part come in it, right? Right.
Yeah.
So like so that's why I said we dive into the ugly part too. So we talking about like so the ugly part for me was like I said, like they said like the high failure rate of it, right? So
Oh,
um
yeah.
statistics on business failure is a significant percentage that like startups
Mhm.
not survive in their first year. Like you might get
Mhm.
in your first year of business and then it might flop after that. So that's like my one of my ugly stories from like trying to start my boutique in like the retail space, like in the brick and
Mhm.
mortar, right?
Right.
It couldn't sustain past that first year,
Yeah.
right? And a lot of come to like the financial risk involved. Came to like the competition. It came to the long hours, not having like good help that I could trust, you know, to run and maintain the store in my absence and stuff. So that part was tough. And then talk about the fraud and scams that come along with it,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Um, I was encountering a lot of like people coming into my business, like trying to offer me something like, oh, I can do this or I can do that. Or,
Mhm.
you know, like the I think it was the stealing part of it. I kind of mentioned that like they were like coming there stealing and like that's money that's coming out of my pocket, right?
Right.
When
Mhm.
you're coming in my business and you're like stealing your stuff, you know, or finding ways to try to like fraud or scam like me
Mhm.
out of money and out of my business and stuff, right? So that's like one of the ugly parts for me,
Yeah.
you know, trying to like run a business into the retail space, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
and then it talks about like the burnout and the stress part of it, right?
Right.
Like the pressures of entrepreneurship can lead to
Like,
the burnout.
yeah, man. Because, like you said, you know what I mean? Like, I know for me, feeling like I was just wearing all the hats. And it wasn't like I wasn't asking for help, you know what I mean? Because I was, you know, maybe I wasn't seeking for help. I wasn't seeking paid help, you know what I mean? Where I can, like, you know what I mean, pay very well and stuff.
Uh-huh.
But, yeah, but it was like, I just felt like I did, it was, yeah, it's trying to, like I said, trying to make enough to pay people and all of that, you know what I mean? It just be a
Yeah,
lot that goes involved, trying to have
yeah,
employees and things.
yeah.
So then, it's like the children are helping me.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm,
that's just like partial help, you know what I mean, and stuff. And yeah, it just be a lot, you know what I mean? Like I said, trying to wear a lot of hats, stuff. I was built my own website and it was just trying to do a lot of things and stuff.
mm-hmm,
Well, because I had paid for one. I think I paid like it was a while ago, so I can't remember if it was like 180 or 280. But I don't
mm-hmm,
remember. But
mm-hmm,
just trying to get like the help to like the changes that I wanted to make on it and everything and stuff. I didn't like it. It was so many things that I didn't like about it.
mm-hmm,
And um yeah, I felt like I had wasted my money. I just ended up doing it myself. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
After, putting out hundreds of dollars for someone else to do it for me.
Right,
Um
right, right.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it really is a lot. It's a huge investment. Um, or it can be. It
Can be.
can be. But it doesn't have to be. You know what I'm saying? It's just there's so many different ways to do things and create, a business. And it's just a million ways to make $1 million now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like with so many things that have just changed.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, what I mean? It's like all kind of AI support and stuff, and you know what I mean? So I don't know. It's like I'm looking forward to, what I'm able to accomplish. You know what
Right.
I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But like I said, and trying not to wear so many hats.
Right. Right. Yeah. I
Mhm.
feel like back when I started like trying to tread onto those retail space borders, like it was so much that I didn't know. I didn't know coming into
Mhm.
that, right? Although I was business savvy, but like as I've like grown and gotten older and dove a little bit more into what it takes to develop a business, like having your business plan, all this other stuff that comes
Right.
with it, right? I was like, oh my
Yes.
God, like if I'd have just like took the necessary steps so my business could probably thrive, it might have
Mhm.
it might have minimized a lot of like the financial risks or like the instability involved and stuff, right?
Mhm.
Like I'm like, okay, like that for me, like I learned a lot of like valuable lessons, like
Mhm.
and trying to tread into those waters and trying to tread into those waters, right? And
Mhm.
I think too, like how we're talking about like the good side of it is being able to like make your own schedule, have the financial freedom and stuff. I was not ready to give up my 9 to 5 too, right? Because that goes into how they said like why do you go for that stable career? Because you got that to fall back on, right? Like why do you get to back
Mhm.
because you got that to fall back on, right? And
Exactly. Yes, yeah. Because like I don't need to have a degree to do what I'm doing, like
right,
currently and stuff. But I have
right,
it. I'm glad that I have it, and so I'm glad that I have the trainings and things like that I have. So like you said, like if I just happen to need to, you know,
right.
that's an option.
Right, right,
You
right, right, right.
know.
It's a scary world. Like it's like you definitely have to
Mhm.
be like passionate about what you're doing. Definitely have to be passionate
Mhm.
about what you're doing because it is a lot of good and bad and ugly involved in it, right?
Right.
And like I said, like when we was talking about like the burnout, some people get anxiety. I felt myself getting anxiety because having that brick
Me
and mortar.
too.
Let's
I'm
talk
telling you,
about that.
it was like that was one of the, like you said, when I talked about peace of mind, you know what I mean? Because I remember being at work feeling like I just wanted to explode or implode. It was like, it was moments, times where I just felt like I was just losing it. It was like, yeah,
Hmm.
I gotta get out of here. You
Hmm.
know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And so, yeah, it was like, I will go and face the world on my own. Like, just figure it out
Right.
and figure it out. It's like, 'cause anything is better than this.
Anything for I know, and I feel like I
Yeah.
struggle a lot with that because
Mhm.
I'm really like tired of the 9 to 5 sector. I really am. Like
Yeah.
the burnout is real. It's like I tried the whole business thing, right? I feel like I
Mhm.
went about it all wrong. Although I was inspired, I had these aspirations. I feel like I had it all together by trying like the
Mhm.
brick and mortar thing, and that ended up
Right.
being a failure. So that definitely
Mhm.
like scares me to go dive right in to like that like brick and mortar type of feel. Like I still like as you already know, I still do like the tax service part of it because it's safe for me. I still do it in my own home office and I can pick and
Mhm.
choose like how far I want to go with it. Like I don't stretch far, I don't stretch myself thin like I used to. Before, like I
Right.
was literally working long hours, right? Like literally to like
Mhm.
midnight and then going to do a 9 to 5. Now I'm very selective. Like I've dwindled down my clientele a lot just for that freedom and that peace of mind, right?
Yeah.
But like I still have my faithfuls that's been riding with me
Mhm.
for like years, like decades, like literally
Yes.
riding with me, right? Like they the people that's like,
Right.
I'm not going nowhere. I'm not going nowhere. Like I don't care who you turn away, you ain't turning me away, right? So like for them like diehard people that's been with me from the beginning when I first started my business. Oh my God, that's business like oh my God, it's like 2010, I think.
Mhm.
a long time.
Wow, right.
I still had them few diehards, but it's just great for me not to have like that overhead. Like I can move at my own pace. I can like want to check out with a new clientele. I had my cutoff times, right? Before I didn't have those I didn't have those cutoff times. Like I was new coming into, and it was like okay, like I was like overwhelming myself, like literally
Because you
overwhelming myself.
probably felt like you needed it. And you know
Exactly.
what I'm saying? Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, kind of desperate for it to work, desperate for it to kick off, you know what I mean? Yeah. I was like, I'm not like that anymore. You know what I mean? Like now, like it's like I work, or I do it like just when I want to.
When you
You
want
know what I
to,
mean? Like I don't have that
right,
stress. I don't be having that desperation. You
right,
know?
right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. It's definitely like an ugly side to it. And then it's like that, and we're not going to talk about the sacrifices and the isolation part of it.
hmm
A lot of sacrificing
Yeah.
that come along with.
Yeah. Yeah. It can be, you know what I mean? Because, like, when I was traveling and stuff like that a lot, I felt like I was, sacrificing that time with my children.
Mm-hmm,
You know what I'm
mm-hmm,
saying?
mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm,
But,
mm-hmm,
yeah, because, what I mean, like, say, being home and, what I mean, going away like every weekend and, stuff like that. Yeah, it did be a sacrifice. How you doing?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
hmm
So, like, did you feel like you were being like isolated too, like the isolation
A
part
little
of
bit,
it?
yeah, cause I wasn't really like going out and stuff. You know what I mean? So yeah,
Mm-hmm,
yeah,
mm-hmm,
I can definitely see how that can happen because you be so engrossed in like what you're doing. But I had that same thing going on. It was just like when I was in school. You know what I mean? And it was like just really focused because I was working and in school at the same time, and so it's like just doing the most. Yeah, it's like end up in just my own little world. You know what I
mm-hmm.
mean? But yeah, I find ways to be social though. So it's like I'm always like finding ways to get outside.
Yeah, because they say
Mhm.
like you end up making like a lot of significant sacrifices, like especially like in your personal life, right? Like
Mhm.
um yeah, when you're trying to like grind hard with the business and you want it to be successful, you want it to work, like you were just saying, like you felt like that you were isolating yourself because like you don't want your business you don't want your business to fail, right?
Mhm.
But that's a lot of when like the burnout part come in it, right?
Right.
You know, so I felt like too, like I got burnt out a lot by trying that grind hard moment, like not turning anybody away, wanting to succeed, wanted to see it grow and like flourish, but that's definitely the ugly side of like being an entrepreneur, right? But
Mhm.
they say like if you're going to start your own schedule, start your own business, like your schedule won't be like the typical 9 to 5ers, and it doesn't, and it was hard like for me to navigate, but I know
Mhm.
you gave up your 9 to 5, so like did you find yourself putting in more like time and work into it by like not actually doing a 9 to 5?
Say that again.
Do you actually find yourself putting in more time and work as opposed to like having like the 9 to 5?
Oh, absolutely. I think I was saying that earlier. It's like you go from working a 9 to 5 to working like 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Right, right,
yeah, what I
right.
mean. Like especially when you're trying to be successful at what you're doing. It's like I feel like I was just putting so much into trying to make it happen. Into production and
Mm-hmm.
but I also realized like that I'm an artist. I'm an artist and not a machine.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so, it was like wait, like don't forget the peace of mind part that you left the 9 to 5 for.
The
You know what
peace
I'm
of
saying?
mind. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So like I said, like I just made that like my motto, like peace of mind over everything.
Right. Right.
Peace of mind
Right.
over everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Yeah.
everybody for being here. We are talking about entrepreneurship, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We both have
Mhm.
our experiences, our stories about how entrepreneurship has served us. Um, for me, I'm currently not doing it as active as I was. I still have my little side business, but my sister Janae Goddess Life, she is in the thick of it. She is a true entrepreneur through and through. And like I get so inspired by her, like her strength and her courage to
You know
like
what I want to say? I think one thing that is important is having multiple streams of income.
yes, yes,
Multiple streams of income, you know what I mean? Because, it's like that one thing might not necessarily be the thing. And like you said, you know how you got like the tax thing, might not do it as much and
yes.
stuff, you know what I mean? But yeah, so like for me, it's like I sing, I dance, I create
Right,
music.
right.
I mean, I also do the sound healing. I
Mm-hmm.
also make jewelry. People be like, you do everything. I do. I don't
You
know.
know?
I just be authentically me. You know what I
Yes,
mean? And so,
yes, yes.
you know what I mean? But see, I'm being authentically me. Like I said, it's like I do all those things. I also deal with depression and anxiety. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying?
Oh,
So it's like I
mm,
make sure that that's why I
mhm.
say peace of mind over everything.
Everything.
Peace of
Yes.
mind over everything. But I do have a lot of different ways to make money. Entrepreneurship, when I think of it, is also it's like I don't know, some people might say being a hustler or, some, but it's like, I don't know, like for me, it's like, I'm an artist, I'm a creator, you know
Yes.
what I'm saying? Um, I'm a spiritualist. I'm a naturalist, so I also trust in the flow.
Right.
I remember I used to think like, it used to be like times like where like the bank account was getting low and stuff, but I would need something. And when I tell you, I would get like an order all of a sudden $350 or just anything. Somebody want a crown or it'd be like, wow, like, so when I be like, okay, like I'm not going to stress, you know what I mean? I'm not going to, worry about how the next dollar is going to come in. I just continue to create and do what I do and be who I am, you know,
Mm.
and allow things to, to flow in that way.
Right.
Um,
Right.
yeah, you know what I mean? Because the stress is like you're not trusting in the universe.
Mm.
You're not trusting.
Oh my God. Oh my
You know what I'm
God.
saying?
Oh my God.
So,
That is that stress part for me. That stress part for me.
yeah,
Oh my God. Oh my God. When I
yeah.
say like that stress of running your own business is super duper real, right? Like
Hmm.
especially when I saw like my income like dipping and dipping and dipping. It's like, oh my God, like how am I going to stay afloat? Like I still gotta pay the rent to be in the space, right? I'm
Hmm.
not making money, right? Climbing here to pay Paul, like that stuff is real. That stuff is
Right.
real. Now,
Yeah.
listen. Like, although it's a lot of good aspects to like entrepreneurship is like the bad and the ugly that come along with that, right? But
Right.
but they always say like don't like expect like a constant cash flow when you're running a business. That like
Hmm.
it can take time, right? And like being an entrepreneur is definitely not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, so but it's like all right, you know what I mean, like are you a realist or are you, a dreamer? You know what I mean? 'Cause,
Ooh,
some people might tell me I live in a fantasy world. Yeah, I've
wow,
heard that before. You know what I'm saying?
wow.
Like, oh, you just trust in the universe, you know what I mean? Yeah, I do. It'd be like, you know what I mean? So I be saying myself, I have mantras that are like
Uh-huh.
money comes to me frequently, money comes to me fast. Money comes to
Ooh,
me consistently, and when money comes, it lasts. You know what I'm
ooh.
saying?
Love
You know
that.
what I mean? So like, I have
Say that one
mantras and
more time.
things.
One more
Yeah,
time.
money comes to me. When I say money comes to me frequently, money
Believe
comes to me fast.
that.
Money
Okay.
comes to me consistently, and when money comes, it lasts.
Oh man.
You know what I'm
Love that.
saying?
Love that.
So
Yes.
you know how it's like is the they say comments and stuff, you know what I mean? And then the I say, you know what I mean? So yeah, they say, money is not gonna be this or it's not gonna be that or whatever. I don't worry about that stuff. I don't worry
Child,
about that stuff.
listen, that comes from someone that has been in the game for a long time.
You know what I mean?
They
I don't,
understand.
I don't know. It's just thinking like, all my needs are being met. You know what I mean? In one way or another. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And even like when it's not, it is. It'd be like it's still something is gonna come through, and that's how I be thinking. Like I do. I keep a positive mindset.
Right.
Yeah, out here living fearlessly.
Living fearlessly. Yes. So for those that have joined us for our Sista Talk Sunday, we are talking about the good, the bad, the ugly of entrepreneurship. I had some good, but a lot of bad and ugly stories about entrepreneurship. Renee,
Yeah.
on the other hand, she's having a lot more positive stories about entrepreneurship. So, like I love like when she shares her story and her journey to
Yeah.
how she got into entrepreneurship, right? Although it comes with its challenges, but um, it's more rewarding, like in her world and in her life, and the
Yeah, freedom is rewarding.
freedom is rewarding. The freedom is rewarding,
Freedom. Freedom
right?
and peace of mind.
The peace of mind, right? Right. So I really appreciate everybody for joining us today. So they say, like, while we're talking about entrepreneurship, they say like there's actually 4 types of entrepreneurship. Did you realize that?
Really?
4 types of entrepreneurship. Right? They said like you have the scalable part of it. You have the small business part of it. You have the social part of it, and you have the large part of it, right? So it's like 4 types of entrepreneurship. So so which one you think you are? Like, you think you're like the small business part or the sociable or like the scalable part of it? Which part do you think you're part of?
I don't know. Sociable stuck out to me.
The sociable?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but what did you say about sociable?
Yeah. So pretty much that's more like they call it like the scalable part of it. Right. Right. So the 4 parts of it, they say like I'm gonna break it down in a minute. Right. So we're gonna get into like different parts of the entrepreneurship, right? But they say like yes, it's hard. But especially for like the small business owners and stuff, but like you gotta prioritize your like your health and your well being, like when you're doing it, right? But like the key functions of it is like the planning, like when we talk about the scalable, we talk about the organizing of it, right? About the managing, the risk part of it, talk about the innovating part of it, and talk about like the handling of the financial part, and then the marketing and the sales part, right? So that comes in like where you said like you feel like you're in the sociable, scalable part of it. So do you think that it's easier for you to market yourself and sell and get into the sales part of it, or how do you think that ties into like you're being an entrepreneur? Is it
Oh no,
harder
I
for
don't
you?
think it's easy for me to market myself. Yeah, like that's one of the areas that I feel like I could definitely use some help. Um,
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. But like I said, it'd be like, am I ready for those, particular levels of success? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm doing it all by myself. You know what I mean? And
Mm.
so like there would be times where, say like if I get like, big orders or people want a lot of stuff or like a lot of jewelry or, what I mean? Like I have wholesale opportunities and stuff, things that
Uh-huh.
I don't do, it's stuff that I turn down because it'd be like, no, like I can't do all that. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And nor do I want to. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, I don't know. So, not like I limit myself. I just stay within what I'm capable of. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
But
Right.
yeah, but if I was to, get some help, you know what I mean? Yeah, it would just take things to a whole nother level if I had some real serious assistance.
Real
You
serious.
know,
Right.
yeah, you know what I mean? Be able to, quadruple. what it is that I'm able to do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
Volunteers, please. Like,
Right.
let's get it started. You know what I mean? But just to be able to, you know, yeah, you know what I mean? That would really help me. I could see how I could go a lot further. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Hmm.
So if you had somebody just like, or like you said, a big like sales and marketing team, that's their whole job is to just market your business and your brand, right? You feel like that would definitely like help.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think
Yeah.
so. But then at the same time, um, I don't know, like having like an agent and you know what I mean? Yeah. If with the jewelry, someone to assist with the inventory or, different things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's multiple areas 'cause like I said, there's multiple streams. So like I'll be working on like with artistic healing expressions, that's like the umbrella for all the many different things that I like to do.
Right. Right.
You know what I'm
Right. Right.
saying?
Right.
You know what I mean? And so, it's like, you know, uh like creating the different, like the brands, like I said, there's the jewelry, like my merchandise, there's me, the artist, you know what I mean, sing, dancing, bass playing, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Yeah, and then, the sound healing, work
Mm-hmm.
that I do, so it's combining all of those different things,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know, yeah, I think if, somebody could definitely help me figure it all out way better than I'm doing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you for coming in. Your niece said that she could definitely see you as a social entrepreneur. Thank you
Hmm.
for coming in, Rita. I appreciate you. Yeah, you do wear a lot of you had that your artistic healing expressions is definitely the big umbrella. I feel like you said, you got a lot of things going on under that one hat. So do you feel like
Hmm.
it's one serving you more than the other? Right. Which one do
Oh,
you find more challenging, or which one do you find more rewarding?
I don't know. I mean, well, like, oh, being a part of the musical, like the singing, the dancing, that's like the most free, you know what I mean? And playing my bass, you know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? But I'm not making money off of playing my bass right now. You know what I'm saying? I ain't getting no gigs or anything and stuff, but I play my bass all the time. You know
Okay.
what I'm saying? And eventually, I could see something coming out of it. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? I don't know what yet. I don't know what I'm preparing for with that. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But I keep working at it, so I'm ready. I ain't got to get ready. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
But I have, I mean, a couple of opportunities with that though. So like, dang, I'm like, I have, been asked, a couple of times about like being in a band and you know what I mean. But it's always like, wait, you know what I'm saying? In the right situation, what's for you
Hmm.
is gonna be for you. But
Exactly.
but
Exactly.
I'm in the musical, you know. And so, it's like I love that. It's very rewarding. The
Hmm.
Juneteenth musical that I'm in, the No Longer Bound,
Hmm.
where I get to sing, I get to dance and stuff.
Hmm.
And I absolutely love that.
Hmm.
Um, and I still
Hmm.
make jewelry and stuff. Not as much as I used to. At one time, it used to be like I would be having a conversation and it seemed like wire. I'm seeing the wire moving like next to their face. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I
Uh-huh.
mean? And just the ideas was just flowing, flowing, flowing. And so
Uh-huh.
it's not as much like that anymore with the wire. Like I said, like I remember waking up out of my sleep and like making things at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Mm.
It's like the same urge isn't there, even though I do still create. But I write more now. I write
Hmm.
more. So it's like the songwriting is just like been in overload,
Okay.
so it's like yeah, like I wake up in the morning, like in the morning, just like with ideas and just like put them down.
Hmm.
Um
Hmm.
yeah, so it's like yeah, just allowing myself to just be authentically me, you
Hmm.
know what I mean? And so I don't know, it's like yeah, my business is myself, I guess. I don't know. You know? Yeah.
Yeah. So for those that have just tuned in, we are talking about entrepreneurship, the good, the bad, and the ugly side of entrepreneurship.
Oh my
Um,
god.
I have shared
I
some
hear
of
my
my personal
sister.
stories. Janae is talking about her personal short stories about entrepreneurship. Although she has a lot, she has her hands in a lot as an entrepreneur. Like I said earlier, like she definitely inspires me because she gave up a whole career, 9 to 5 career, to follow her dreams and passions as an
In
entrepreneur,
2012.
right? And you know, it's definitely like her light. It is leading her to
Yeah.
her goals and her dreams. And I was kind of talking about like we talked about like the 4 types of entrepreneurship, but we have like the 4 types of entrepreneurs, right? So we were talking about, so they have the classic, the lifestyle, the serial, and the social. So Janae said she classifies herself as the social part, right? So they
Mm.
said like for like if you're like a classic type of entrepreneur, um, you know, that you're driven to do things like at a larger scale, right? They said a classic, like you have that at a larger scale like dream, right? The goal of having this big old impact like on the market, right? And you're willing to take risks, right? And then they have like what you call like the lifestyle entrepreneurs, right?
Oh, you said lifestyle entrepreneurs.
They do have lifestyle entrepreneurs, right?
That sounds might be even more like me. Oh, Mika, hold on a second, okay?
Yeah,
I mean, when I like hold on, you can continue. I know that the show don't stop. Hold
yeah.
on.
So the lifestyle entrepreneurs, right? They say that these type of entrepreneurs prioritize a balanced lifestyle, right? And often like create businesses that allow them to pursue their passion while also generating income, right? They might not be as focused on the growth of their business as the classic entrepreneur, right? But creating us a business that fits their desired lifestyle. So I feel like I kind of fit into that. So thank you so much for everybody that's joining us. We're talking about the good, the bad, the ugly of entrepreneurship, right? So I feel like that was like a lifestyle entrepreneur. So I didn't give up my 9 to 5, but I still had like business um happening on the side, as you can say. So I wanted to see it be fruitful. I wanted to see it be sustainable, but didn't want to give up like my steady income. So this is where I like struggle and toggle with it. And I'm kind of glad that I didn't give up like my 9 to 5 because I talked about earlier in our discussion about when I stepped out on faith and I opened up a brick and mortar, right? A boutique, and it had a lot of overhead. I went into it without having like a surefire like business plan, right? I had a passion, I had a dream, and I thought I had all the missing pieces to make this business be successful and grow. But then it came in with a lot of risk. So that's where we're talking about like the good aspects of it, and then the bad side of it, and then talk about like the ugly side of it. So for me, it was a lot of financial risk involved. I found myself losing money in my business because of my overhead. Having to pay rent for the space that I'm leasing. Paying merchant. Um, you know, Things like that, like credit cards and getting supplies, ordering supplies to keep my boutique fully stocked. Um, and and still trying to work a 9 to 5. So then I still had to pay to have someone come in to run my store for me while I work my 9 to 5 because I was not ready to step out and fully commit to running that business on a full-term basis. So I was trying to navigate that just by doing it like on the side and say, okay, well, I'll do my 9 to 5. I have somebody run the business for me. But with that, then I had to pay, to have somebody run it and then have all the overhead involved. And then it came the part when people were coming in like stealing. You take that risk, like when you open up a brick and mortar, like people coming in and stealing, you start losing money because you're seeing things go out the window. You're not getting any money on it, but you got to keep, keeping the supply and the demand in the store, and you're actually like losing products. right? So that part was like very ugly for me, very hard, to face the reality. Okay, I'm putting out more into this business than I'm actually like receiving. I'm not gaining anything. I'm actually doing a lot of losing. So that was very, very, very tough for me to get into the business, into the retail space, and see my income like declining and like really like struggling to like stay afloat with that business. So that was like my bad and like my ugly side of that. But I definitely felt like that I fit into like the lifestyle part of the entrepreneur because I wanted to see it being sustainable, but I was trying to balance that at where I can still keep a steady income by doing a 9 to 5 and still trying to run a brick and mortar, which definitely did not work for me. But it definitely worked in the aspect of where I opened up a tech service because it didn't require me to do like a brick and mortar, but I can do that from my home office, and then I can move at my own pace, do clients, selectively. Like I didn't um overwhelm myself like I did in the beginning when I was new coming into, starting my own tech service, and overwhelm myself with clients, still trying to do that income part of it, not giving my 9 to 5, but putting so much into trying to run this side business as a tax professional. It was very draining. So that was like the bad side of it for me, that I was overwhelmed and stressed a lot trying to meet these deadlines. And then I would have clients that would wait to the last minute. You know how tax season is April 15th normally, unless, it falls on the weekend. And then I would get clients that will come in, or contact me and say, listen, I need this done on April 15th. I got to be in by the deadline. I done did work like a whole 9 to 5, okay, all day. And now I'm up all night trying to meet this deadline for this client. So I don't put myself in that situation anymore. I actually have like a cutoff that I stop at a certain month. That way I can give myself a little freedom, a mental break, okay? Because I still do a 9 to 5, which is education, which is already enough within itself. So I've definitely learned and grew throughout my years of doing entrepreneurship, right? But it definitely has its good, its bad, and its ugly side. So that's why I think I fit in the lifestyle part of it. And then they have what you call like the serial entrepreneurs, right? So they said like the serial entrepreneurs, like they launched and they have like multiple businesses, right? Throughout their careers, like they enjoy the challenge of like starting like different ventures, and they have a knack for identifying like what a need is or a new opportunity, right? So I wouldn't consider myself like a serial entrepreneur, but I that can definitely like appreciate someone that deals in like different like business ventures, right? They try their hand at different things, just to see what works. Like Janae will probably be joining on us in a little bit, to talk a little bit about like her businesses. Like her big umbrella is artistic healing expressions, and she has a lot of different things going on underneath that umbrella, right? She does like her jewelry, she does like music, she sings and performs. Like it's a lot of different things she does as an entrepreneur under there. So like she probably can speak a little bit some more about like the serial entrepreneur part of it. And also they have another category which is called like social entrepreneurs, right? She categorized herself as a social entrepreneur too, right? But like their social entrepreneurs are more driven like for their desire to create, right? And I can definitely say like that's definitely aligns with my sister Janae God's Life does, because she definitely has a vision. She definitely likes to design. She definitely likes to create, right? So if you were to like sees like some of her work and like see where she has her hands in, you would definitely like see that creative vision for her, and how she's like made a big impact and a lot of change within like the community. Like she's actually had like people see like her pieces that she designed and developed and like request her. Like I've seen like her pieces in like music videos and stuff from like artists that are like well known, right? Because of her vision and her creativity. So like I can definitely like align her with like the social entrepreneur part of it and like the cereal because she has her hands on a lot of different things. So she kind of spoke to us earlier about how, you know, she does a lot of different things. Like some parts of her businesses are rewarding and more fruitful, and some she is like still trying to like grow into, like especially like with like the musical aspect of it. Like she got into you know, learning how to um do the bass, like be fluent in the bass, and you know, still waiting for like gigs to come along dealing with the bass, right? But that's you know, another like vision of creativity. So like I could definitely agree with when they say like you really have to have like a passion when you're going into that world of entrepreneurship, right? You really have to like have a vision, like you really have to like create that lifestyle that you want for you know entrepreneur type of lifestyle, I would say, right? Because it's definitely not for like the faint of heart, like we were talking about it earlier. Like it's definitely not for the faint of heart, right? And there's a lot of good sides and a lot of bad sides and there's a lot of ugly to like that entrepreneurship life, right? But there was a question that I could say like where the most entrepreneurs fail, right? And one thing was they said like the lack of the market research. And like I can agree because like when I tried to do like the brick and mortar thing, like I was like a small fish going into a big sea, right? Of big businesses, big boxes, businesses that have been doing this for years, and they have like the overhead, they have like the financial plan, they have the backing, like so like me stepping into that world, like I was not ready like for that market, right? I thought I was like it was fine when I was like doing little things online and things, but when I stepped out and said, okay, I'm going to step into that brick and mortar space, I got a huge wake up call. It's like, oh, I cannot compete, right? As a small business trying to like be in this avenue of retail space, right? So then they talk about like having the business plan problems, like I was just literally saying, right? I did not have a business plan. So that right there did not set me up for success, I should say. I have to say that probably played a lot into the failure in my business because I did not have a business plan. And as I've like learned and grew throughout the years, like that business plan is very, very, very important. Having a plan. So they said that's why most businesses fail. Oh, thank you so much to say I like my art. Thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, so not having that business plan can definitely can potentially set your business up for failure, right? So that's like one of the bad and ugly sides of like entrepreneurship. And then let's talk about having too little financing. So, and again, like this story is like so relatable for me because like I had a vision, I had a dream, but I did not have a lot of capital overhead to start this business. And I dove into it with my little bit of resources and like, oh, this is going to work, you know, but not really ready for that big animal. That big animal is big. It was like, okay, all right, well, you do this brick and mortar space, but now you have to pay your lease every month. You gotta pay that landlord to be in that space. Okay. Oh, and not to mention you gotta have the lights on. Okay. You gotta have the air conditioning in the summertime. You gotta have the heat in the winter. Like so, all this is like overhead. You have to like pay, you know, in that space of that brick and mortar. And then not to mention if you want to collect credit cards, then you have your merchant account, right? So that they having a merchant account, like they're taking money from you know every credit card sale you do. So it's like all these things that I didn't think about when I stepped into that world, right? Of like the brick and mortar, right? But like, you know, not having the finances to like really back and sustain was hard. It was really, really, really hard. And, you know, like I said, like it was like I found myself like dipping more and more into debt, like robbing Peter to pay Paul. It's like it came to that, okay, what do I pay? Do I pay this or do I pay that? Right. You know, and then I finally just like, okay, I can't sustain this brick and mortar business anymore. Right. So, and then another one, they said that like most entrepreneurs fail at is like having a poor location or like the lack of social media. So I don't think that the social media was the problem. I was doing a lot of advertising. I started off online advertising, and that's what led me into doing the brick and mortar, because people were asking, well, do you have a physical location that I can actually come in and like look at your products and actually like shop and browse? So that's what made me want to go into that realm and step into that space, the brick and mortar space. But the location was the ideal for me. I picked a location that was more like in a residential area, but it was not in the best area. It wasn't in the best space. So that opened me up for a lot of like theft. It opened me up for a lot of people coming in trying to scam. And then I had like probably a few blocks from me were these big box stores where it's like, okay, me in this little small boutique in the neighborhood, that's not ideal. And then a few blocks down, you have these big retail stores. So it's like, okay, so I found myself competing and struggling with these big box stores. And because I was just a small business, that opened me up, like I said, for people coming in. They will come in with these, these sob stories, or or it's just me in the boutique by myself, and that opened me up for like a lot of theft. Like people were literally going to the back of the shop and just load it up and just rob me blind. Or times where I couldn't be in the shop and I would have to have like one of my kids running it, but I still have to pay my kids to, run it too. They make their little money, as operating a business along with me. But it was a problem with people coming in and like stealing from them. So then I would literally come and be like, okay, like why is empty hangers on the rack? Like you didn't get a sell, so why is empty hangers on the rack? Or why is the shoe department missing shoes out of the box, where people were like literally like swapping out shoes, their personal shoes, and putting them in the box and taking out the new shoes. So it was like all kinds of stuff going on. Right. So, and a lot of it like attribute to that location that was not the ideal location to start a business or do a brick and mortar store. And I noticed like the space that I used to open my little boutique used to actually be like a hair salon. So it's a little different, like running a hair salon out of a location or a small space in like certain type of neighborhoods or environments, as opposed to open up a boutique where you have like all this merchandise, all this merchandise, where people can come in and steal like from you. So that was definitely tough. And then they talk about like the complexity part of it. So I won't necessarily say that I was being complacent, but I can definitely say that I didn't think I could, dedicate a whole day to running my business, because again, like it was that fear of losing the steady income. I still had to maintain my steady income and still do my 9 to 5. So I had to like, work around that schedule, which was definitely tough, but I was like, okay, I got it all figured out. This is going to work out. I'll have somebody work in my place while I'm away, working, so, all those was like set me up for failure, not having a plan, just, like being complacent in my present job and not wanting to give my all 100% into my business, not having a lot of financial backing, and just kind of going into the blind like space of it, treading in those retail space borders, with all these big box retailers. So that definitely was challenging. And then thinking that I was like going to blow up thinking I was going to blow up was tough. Thinking I was going to blow up was tough. So like it's a lot that comes along with entrepreneurship. Like I'm always curious to hear people's stories and like how they made it and what made them, successful, what challenges they had, what was the good parts of it, what was the bad parts of it and stuff, right? And pick their brain on it. Like I definitely love talking to my sister Jen in God's life, because she definitely gives me a big outlook on it, right? But it was saying like, it's like the 4 rules like to entrepreneurship, right? They was like don't quit your day job yet. And I didn't, right? Consider starting your business part-time, which I did, right? Like especially like if it's online, while you're working and trying to have a steady income, which I actually did. Then it's like find your niche. Like I definitely found my niche. Like especially with like the tech service, doing the pickup and delivery services, was definitely like my niche. Like people really love that part of my business. So that definitely worked out well for me. And it said like having an online presence. So I definitely had an online presence. I did. That's what motivated me to want to step into that brick and mortar world, right? And they said refuse to quit. So I can't say that I quit it in my brick and mortar, but I definitely realized that I was drowning and it was time to like step out of that world. Definitely time to step out of that world, right? So it's a lot. It's a lot that comes along with the entrepreneurship, right? And like we talk about entrepreneurship, like so like it is a difference like of being like the entrepreneur and stepping into like entrepreneurship. So when you consider yourself an entrepreneur, it's saying like like you really like take initiative, like to establish and like start a business, right? Even all the risks that come along with it, like that's you consider entrepreneur when you do that. But when you're like going into like the entrepreneurship, right, like you're like identifying like the different opportunities, right? Like you're studying like business plans, right? You're securing like the funding, you're managing the resources and stuff, right? And you're launching and you're growing your new business. So it's definitely different from being an entrepreneur and going into like entrepreneurship, So I learned that the hard way, like of being like an entrepreneur and going to entrepreneurship. I consider myself an entrepreneur, but not definitely ready for entrepreneurship, which was a bigger process, a grand scheme. So like they said, so like an entrepreneur is kind of like an actor, there's they free spirit, they do like different avenues, they do a lot of different things. But you don't necessarily have to worry about the overhead. And then if you're doing entrepreneurship, then you definitely have to like dive into it, set a business plan, do all the things that come along with it, right? To have a successful business and stuff, right? So, but I would say my key takeaway from this whole conversation with like entrepreneurship is like if you're like planning on becoming an entrepreneur, it was like, like create a plan. Like so let's like identify a problem. Like how can you contribute by stepping into like this realm? Like say expand your formal and informal education, right? Educate yourself about it, right? And that's what I wish I would have did when it came to like doing a brick and mortar. I really should have educated myself before like stepping out and stepping into those retail waters. Like I really wish I would have like educated myself, which I didn't. Then it says like build your network, right? I thought I had a network, like I was doing online, right? But my network was not as big as I thought. And I realized once I got into that realm in that retail space that my network wasn't so big. I had people that were in my corner that were trying to help me do some advertising and things, but like I lost a lot of like friends stepping into that world because I guess they felt like, okay, you're stepping into something else, you're doing something new, now you're going to be too big or whatever. So like I really found out who was in my space and who was my close network, like what people were like really in my corner, and it really was not a lot. So I found myself alone in that space. And then it says like reach for like your financial stability, like make sure you're financially stable before like going into those entrepreneur like waters, because if you don't have like income to sustain, like stepping into entrepreneurship is not going to be as easy as it looks. That's definitely tough. So you want to be like careful when you're going into that entrepreneur realm. But it's saying like even like when you're solving the problems like with your business idea, make sure that it's something that people are going to need, like it's marketable. Like you're really going to be able to sustain. Like people can say, okay, I really can use this product, or I really can use this type of service, right? That's real big, right? And then before you like dive directly into it, let's like test it, like test the idea and see if it's actually going to work, you know. Which, you know, I find a lot of people are doing, like especially with the online thing, they're just testing it, testing the water, see if it's marketable, see if people are interested in it before they actually just like dive right into it. And then like the final thing is like raise money. I can't stress that enough. Raise money to help sustain like that business, or you know, whatever you're trying to do, that business venture. Because trying to like dig into your own like income and stuff to try to do it, it didn't work for me. It might work different for somebody else, but it definitely didn't work for me. Like I always had to make a lot of choices and sacrifices. If I want to pay this, if I want to pay that, and you know, it became like that juggling act. It definitely became that juggling act because, you know, I definitely was not ready to step into that world on my means and my income. So yeah, that's my little tips for like, you know, steps on like even like trying to be that entrepreneur. Like if you're not already, I mean, I'm always interested to hear people's plan and how they do it. You know, how is it working for them? Did they step into it, you know, blindly, or you know, did they ease their way into it? You know, hey Sylvia, thank you for coming in. Hey, she stole my thunder. I appreciate you. Appreciate you being here. Yes, happy Sunday. Yeah. So yeah, it's I know for me, like I'm definitely um not that strong, passionate entrepreneur like some people are. Some people are really like strong and passionate about it, and they make it work for them. They have that knack to be an entrepreneur. But I don't like I don't have that strong will to say, okay, I'm going to give up everything and just dive into this business. Like, so that's why I can definitely appreciate like the different types of entrepreneurs that I was talking about, right? So yeah, my sister was definitely talking about, you know, when she, you know, how she was diving into entrepreneurship, and I guess she was trying to come in, but I'm not sure what's going on. Yeah, but I think she was going to try to come back in and talk, but I'm not sure why it's not letting her come in. Yeah. But yeah, so she identified herself as you know, more of the social entrepreneur, and I totally agree with her. I totally agree that she is more of the social entrepreneur. Yeah, but yeah, so that was, you said this is definitely hard. Yeah, it definitely is. It definitely is. And I, you know, I think Sylvia, I've talked about it a lot with you about me not being able to like definitely like dive into like doing like the whole entrepreneur thing, you know, especially when life is like life. Life is life. You know, I do like that security part of it. I definitely do like having that security part of it. And it takes a lot of dedication. It definitely takes a lot of dedication and time. And I feel like I had a lot more dedication and time back then, like when I was talking about treading into, you know, that brick and mortar space. You know, I was like ambitious, you know, I was, you know, ready. I thought I had it all figured out. You know, I said I'm gonna make this work. I'm gonna have my 9 to 5, and I'm still gonna run this business. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be successful. I did all this without having a business plan. All this without having a business plan, right? So, like, I like the idea was there. The idea was there. It definitely was. It definitely was there. And I think I learned so much. I learned a lot of lessons. I learned a lot of lessons with stepping into that world of being like an entrepreneur. I don't know if I can honestly say that I would try it now. I don't think I can like step out on faith like that right now, especially not with these times, not with these times the way they are, because I am big on you know, stability and security. You know, I'm definitely big on stability and security. So I can definitely appreciate entrepreneurs that are in it, they're in the grind, they're making it work, you know, through all the good, the bad, and the ugly part of it. Like, and Janae can probably be attest to how it works, for her as being an entrepreneur. It's definitely not easy. It's definitely not easy. And all they say, like, it's definitely not for the faint of heart. And it's a lot that goes into like being an entrepreneur. It definitely is. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs in my life that are doing it, they're making it work. And and you do have those stories, that you take the good with the bad, um and I definitely like try to learn from people that are doing it and they are like making it work. So, but that was our topic today, like entrepreneurship, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Right? I shared some of my stories about good, bad, and ugly. Okay. So like I said, it's two different types. Like, you got your entrepreneur that, like you said, that's considered like an actor. Like, they're free spirit, they're doing their thing, they're getting income just being about an entrepreneur in that sense. So then you got the entrepreneurship, which, like, you gotta go come up with this whole plan before you dive into it. Yeah. But that was our topic for today. I really, really appreciate you being here on this Sunday for our Sista Talk. We got to talk to Janae. We got to talk to my niece, who is also being an entrepreneur, right? Thank you, love. I appreciate you for being here. So you could have been anywhere on these YouTube streets, and I totally appreciate you for being here. It's all love, all love, all love. I always say that if you have not done anything for yourself today, please do something for you. Please do something for you. And we get together on Sundays at 3:00 for Sista Talk. And I always say, you never know what we're going to talk about. So I definitely appreciate you for being here, and have an amazing week. And I look forward to talking to you on the next Sista Talk. Until then, have a great rest of your day, everybody. Take care.